Hi, Candace. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your week two writing assignment, your rough draft. Um, Over here, in terms of your apology, please don't leave one. It's not confusing at all. In fact, I think I can see um, a lot of potential for a good narrative arc. You're really working out um, some really interesting ideas here. You have so much to work with, and you're a really excellent writer. Um, I not only did I you know not only did I well, I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but the only reason why I say enjoy is because a lot of the themes that you're working with here are painful. But I think that they're stories that are important to be told. But I connected with you as a reader. I felt, right? I felt very connected to your writing um, as I was reading through this. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. You're a good writer. I see some good things going on here. So, in terms of the narrative itself, I kind of see one, right? I kind of see one kind of building anyway, right? Because some of the things that you like really start with is this kind of learned helplessness that you get reinforced from the broader society, right? Particularly in school, right? And how hurtful that was for you. But I think one of the things that you're also like recognizing is you see that learned helplessness not only um, established in Superman and Me, right? Alexi's story, but you're also seeing like you're looking around at Oklahoma and you really see that happening. And I think this paragraph right here, um, connected with what you're talking about here, um, really makes sense um, as to why that internalized helplessness is a very real thing. But one of the things that you're also showing is, despite all that, we don't have to be defined by what society suggests who we should be, right? And we see that, right? We see that positive thing coming out here in your final draft. So I wonder if there's a way for you to kind of make a clearer connection between like some of the ideas that you start with, right, and some of the ideas that you end with, right? So you say like, I hope it isn't confusing and it's not all over the place. I don't think that it is, but in terms of thinking about that arc, um, you might think about, well, how have you grown? How have you started to do some healing, perhaps, right, from some of the really painful messages that you received as a young person? And I think like, what are you gonna do with that, right? So you might think about what Sherman Alexie seems to suggest, like what he did with that, right? So he, you know, he essentially could have, become a success and took off and never looked back, but he refused to do that, right? So that might be interesting to kind of think about there. Um, in terms of the narrative, what I want you to do is go back. Remember, we were talking about descriptive writing this week. So go back and look to some of the places where you're summarizing, and instead slow your pace down and really bring out, really paint that picture for the reader with descriptive writing. So create the full scene, right? Um, I think that if you're willing to talk about this, right? I know it's a really painful thing that you're talking, but if you're willing to slow down and really paint the picture of you as a young woman, uh, and particularly a young Native American woman in a classroom, that you felt this wasn't given as much depth as it could have had and should have had, this and how that's a formative moment for you, right? It really feels like this is a formative moment for you. I think that this right here would be an excellent thing to stretch out. Maybe here as well too, right? So maybe stretching out what handful of words, where did you learn them, where do you use them, right? Things like that. And I love this sentence. It feels like there's layers of meaning right here. And, it's really powerful. In terms of organization, I wonder if this paragraph would be better suited actually here, and then the second paragraph going down one, right? Um, Play around with that organization and see if you can see what I'm talking about, because this kind of feels like it'd be better suited here. This is another good place for more description. I think you're getting there, right? But really capturing what this looks like, right? Show it to us as the audience. And then I think if you want to make that arc, right, be how you're learning to heal, and that maybe you had to leave the place in order to heal by moving to Carthage, that could be a nice arc for us as readers. Another thing that I want you to read for is vague language. So you start with this idea that says it's weird to think that my family and I were not from a line of immigrants. A lot of people don't realize that they technically come from immigration, even if it was a long time ago. And so I think it's important for you to, kind of indicate who you mean here, right? So I think Americans would be, that would be a a more clear way of saying that. And you might even narrow that even further by seeing Americans with European descent or from European descent, right? So you're really nailing who exactly you mean here. You're essentially talking about, right, like mainstream America, right? And you're right. A lot of people don't not necessarily spend a lot of time in terms of mainstream Americans don't spend a lot of time thinking about that, and I wonder if it's because they're not in a position to think about that, right? Um, and because they're not forced to think about that, I think that things that you don't take for granted, uh, perhaps you're recognizing that they do. So editing for that vague language here and there, right? Thinking about really who are you talking about, would help. So I really like what you're doing here. You are an excellent writer, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. So what I want to see from you at this point is thinking about those narrative strategies in more depth, building some of those scenes, and really thinking about your arc, right? Okay. Thanks, Candace.